Welcome everyone. My name is Justin Chugg. I'm with Untitled. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about referral relationships, but specifically about commercial real estate agents. We've talked about referral partners in the past, but I wanted to give this practical example to be able to make the illustration of these referral relationships a little clearer. As you probably already know, referral partners will help you carry the burden of customer acquisition, which is really what we're trying to accomplish on these bi-monthly calls, is to help lower customer acquisitions. And so referral partners, like I mentioned before, helps divvy up the responsibilities of customer acquisition without actually hiring sales reps. And I think most of us would agree that commercial real estate agents make a great referral partner. The challenge is convincing them to work with us. So it probably shouldn't surprise you that you're not the first person to propose a partnership with commercial real estate agents. The purpose of today's call is to figure out how to convince them to work with us. Most of the time, you'll find that these commercial real estate agents are offered commissions. The problem is they're getting commission offers for the wrong products. You see, while money is the actual incentive that gets them going, it only incentivizes them if the money comes from leasing agreements. So the primary reason why most commercial real estate agent relationships fail is because we're giving them the right incentive for the wrong reason. Now, to start out, I think we should all establish the fact that the reason why commercial real estate agents are such a great referral partner is because we're talking to the same types of clients. In fact, we both are talking to the same types of prospects. Oftentimes we're trying to target companies who are on the move, and we have a very complementary solution, something that helps the client find the right combination of solutions, whether it's technology or new building, but the two pieces go hand in hand. But before we get ahead of ourselves, we need to remember that these referral relationships are the equivalent of a marriage proposal. You wouldn't expect someone to trust you with their clients the same way you wouldn't expect someone to trust you with their life via a single email or phone call. These things require time and essentially a courtship. So to initiate this courtship with our referral partners, we need to first create an excuse to meet them. So to get started, we can look for buildings for lease in our area. To do so, we can turn to Google. So in our last call, Google was our competition, but today they're going to be our friend. So we'll look to Google to search for commercial real estate agent or real estate listings using a database known as LoopNet. A lot of you probably used this in the past. I like to use Google to access LoopNet because it gives me more flexibility in terms of accessing the data and more control over the filters. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. So to get started, go ahead and type in site:/loopnet.com/listing. From there, you'll add your zip code, and this allows you to actually search for listings local to your area. As you open up each listing, there's something very specific that we're looking for. And if you go through Google, you can also sort by date using some of the custom filters if you like. But what we're looking for within each listing is the date available. And you'll see that here on the right-hand side of the screen. But basically, anything that has a date available that says immediate, chances are the tenant has already left the building. But if the date available has some type of a future date, like what we're seeing here, what we're seeing is that this date represents a time when the space will become available, which indicates that the space is currently being occupied by a tenant, and they wouldn't be listing it here if that tenant wasn't leaving. So you can also identify buildings that are under construction by using the term under construction in the Google search term. This is a great opportunity to bring value by bringing fiber to the building while it's still under construction. But once you identify these buildings that have tenants on the move, which is basically any building that has space available in the future, we have to then figure out who the actual tenants in the building are today. And once we determine that, we'll be able to figure out who's moving. So to get information about tenants, you can either use the Untitled tools, which is accessed at data.untitled.com. You can just plug in the addresses there. Or you can use Google Maps and start looking up the different companies. If we go back to the original LoopNet listings, you'll see that there's contact information of the real estate agent responsible for the building on the right-hand side. We don't want to reach out quite yet to the real estate agent because we have to keep in mind that this is a courtship, and calling people at random will only waste their time and ours. If we expect to get a first date with our prospect, we need to impress them. As soon as we connect with the tenant on the move, we now have an excuse to connect with our commercial real estate agent. So the tenant that we're targeting should be in the same building that the commercial real estate agent manages. That's what allows us to create the connection. So it's basically the equivalent of having a common friend with the person that we're pursuing. So once you build the relationship with that first tenant, ask them about whether they're planning on moving and ask for the addresses. You'll then prepare a custom proposal for the new building. The proposal will be more geared to the commercial real estate agent, but we'll talk about that later. Now that you've built a relationship with your referral partner's tenant, it's time to engage with commercial real estate agents. Rather than using the contact form on the LoopNet listing, because essentially this is where they get a lot of spam and it's a black hole. You want to, rather than using that contact form, you want to shoot them a text message. The phone number here will likely be a cell phone, and it'll be much easier to reach them via text than using the contact form here. You'll want to let them know that you're working with the tenant in the building and helping them identify technology solutions for the building that they're moving to, and you thought it would be a good idea to team up. You'll want to hire a professional artist for these proposals, and we'll talk about why that's so important later. But you can go to places like 99 Designs and have them put something together. Basically, you're looking for professional templates that you can use over and over again. The proposal really should just be a single page, trying to keep it simple and highlighting the technology options in the building that the tenant's trying to move to. The goal here is to convince to help demonstrate your value to the commercial real estate agent, because as they're preparing proposals for their clients, having a page within their proposal will help about technology and options, will help differentiate them and help you solidify your relationship with the referral partners. If you like to impress your referral partners even further, you should consider using some of the techniques we discussed in our last call about surveys. So here's a few things to consider as far as creating surveys and additional data points that you can add in terms of value to the proposals and data points that you're bringing to the commercial real estate agents. So you can do a quick survey of looking at the average price per square foot in the area. You can look at the average lease terms in that market. You can look at the number of percentage of buildings for lease, so look at the ratio between buildings available and buildings that are for lease. You can also look at the number of providers in each building. So if there's 6 bandwidth providers in one building and 3 in another, you can kind of look at the averages and help them understand in terms of context how bandwidth rich a specific building is. You might also even go as far as asking customers how satisfied they are with the building's management and overall setup. You can measure foot traffic, the available parking spaces. You can look at competitors in the area, see if there's a lot of competition. You can let the tenant know who the neighbors are in the building. So these are lots of different data points that would add a lot of value to both the client and also to the commercial real estate agent, which is ultimately who we're trying to cater to. Now, if you're pulling data directly from Ensemble, there is a button where you can click on Include Analytics, and this will provide you analytics on commonalities across the different tenants within the building, and that will be included in the report that we provide for you. And by the way, this is part of the free services that we offer where you can actually pull that tenant info. You can also gather some really interesting data to add to your reports from a company known as Location Genius. They do a lot of foot traffic and analytics about what's going on around and inside of the building, and this can be something very valuable. Now, a question often comes up: how do I know how much to invest in relationships and customer acquisition? It seems like we spend a lot of time in preparing for this, and we worry sometimes, are we investing too much or too little? So I wanted to share this formula with you This will help you optimize the right level of investment, helping you create the perfect balance for optimal growth. Because if you invest too little, you're growing too slow, and if you're investing too much, you're going to have a cash flow problem in the near future. So if we look at the left-hand side of the equation, LTV, or lifetime value of the customer, should be 3 times the cost of acquiring that customer. So you just need to factor in all the cost of figuring out how much it costs to bring that customer on board and how much that customer is going to be valued over the lifetime of their account. In a similar fashion, acquiring referral partners, the lifetime value of referral partners should be 5 times the cost of acquiring the referral partner. You'll notice that the ratio here is a little bit higher with referral partners, not because they're less valuable, obviously, but because you can expect the return to be paid out over a longer period of time compared to a single customer acquisition. It's also higher because the value of a single referral relationship is much greater than a single customer. Also, in terms of adding value to the conversation, don't forget to pull an upsell report for any customer conversations that you have ongoing with your commercial real estate partners. So to seal the deal with your courtship, you need to work as a single brand. What I mean by that is the single brand will help solidify your relationship like a marriage does with a relationship. So to propose this next step, suggest to your commercial real estate agent that it would be better if there was a single proposal from the two of you under a single brand name for the clients you're working on. While it's tempting to use your brand, it's better to use the brand of your referral partner. I'll explain why here in a moment. Basically, you want them to get you a shirt with their business logo on it, a business card, an email address, to help you work more closely with them. This will also help make it possible to be accepted by the family, or in other words, start working with other members of the real estate group and begin helping them on their proposals as well. At the end of the day, you need to build enough trust to encourage members of the real estate group to bring you in on customer deals as the technology advisor for their organization. So nothing will make it easier for you to basically solidify your relationship with these groups if you act as a member of their team under their brand and kind of become an official indirect resource for them to help add value to the proposals that they're creating. So hopefully that makes sense, but if you have any questions about it after the call, feel free to jump into the chat. Now, before we wrap up, there's just one last thing I wanted to mention. One of the most powerful incentives that you can offer your referral partners is known as the Plan B. Most of the companies your referral partners work with will discourage you from paying their employees outside of commissions. Basically, they don't want people paying them anything outside of what they're already paying them. So a Plan B is a savings account you set up to deposit the commissions earned by the real estate agent for deals they bring you. So if the economy starts to go south, or if they decide to branch out on their own, they can use your Plan B savings account as a salary and work for you. So ultimately what this does is it creates a bridge for this real estate agent to become an employee of your company, and they're basically earning their own salary, and they ultimately become a free employee for you. So that's everything